Okay, here we go with section 9. We're getting into more complexity every section, and hopefully as this stuff is kind of cumulative, the earlier things become easier and easier as you move through. So we've learned how to create a new feature from a selection. Now we're going to actually create a new feature just from scratch, and we're going to practice editing and modifying features in any sort of a data set. When we are all done here, you should be able to accomplish the following. Apply corrections to existing features through editing, yes. Create new features, yep, we'll do that. Add information to the attributes table through editing. We're going to use the field calculator and calculate geometry as well. And then we're going to add and edit metadata, which is probably, it's one of the least exciting parts of GIS, but most important parts. So we'll do a little bit of that. So let's get going with some of our questions and then get a demonstration up. So, key question. What can you do to set yourself up for a successful editing session? So let's go ahead and get ourselves into the program right now. I'm going to open ArcGIS Pro. I believe it'll ask me to sign in. We just transitioned to a new type of licensing. We'll see how that works. If you're at home, I don't think you need to go through the same process. If you've got the software. Oh no, it doesn't ask me. Apparently I'm already signed in up here. That's great. So we're going to go back to our demo that we were using for analysis here. And when we last spent time here, we had created a map that was working with utility data, and that's where we worked on selection. So we looked at culverts and roads, and we created a layer called roads vulnerable to erosion. So that's kind of fun. I felt like this data set is really fun. There's a lot you can do with it, and for some folks it's very interesting, and it's certainly applicable. I don't know, it's probably not an exaggeration to say that about half of GIS folks work in local municipalities. But I thought it might be fun for us to get into some different data, some wildlife data, and also working with some watersheds. So I think we're going to go ahead and leave Spokane County Utilities behind for this demonstration. What I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you insert another map into this project. And what should we call this one? We are going to be focusing on a species called the Rocky Mountain-tailed frog. It's the genus Escaphus, and then we are going to be focusing in Bonner County because there's a few things kind of going on in Bonner County, and it provides a good opportunity for us to sort of look at some data at a scale that can make some decent layouts as well. So we can use some of this on assignments and making some layouts a little bit later. So we're going to work with the Rocky Mountain-tailed frog in Bonner County, just because a lot of you probably don't know this species. Let me just pull up a picture for you. How's that sound? Rocky Mountain-tailed frog. Not to waste your time, but it's just kind of nice to see. We got some photos right there, some more photos through here. Yeah, so I thought you'd like to see these. I could give you a couple lectures on these. We could spend a lot of time talking about these critters. If you're with me in class, or if you want to email me, if you're an online student, if you want to email me, and we can talk more about the Rocky Mountain-tailed frog. And maybe we'll have a chance to while we're making maps. But there's a picture, so you've got the picture in your mind. They are about the size of like half your thumb, so to your first thumb joint. That's about the size that they are, just so you got a feeling there. All right, so back to GIS. So I've got Escaphus, Bonner County. All right, and then what I'm going to have you do is go into your catalog. I'm going to pin mine so it stays open. I'm going to go to my favorites, and that's where I have the student workbook data. And in here, you should have, let me refresh it. I think it should be in here. Refresh. Just a second, I need to make sure I have that data added to this set for you guys. All right, sorry about that. Just fix that. I just forgot to move a folder over before the demonstration. So now I've got my Escapist points in here. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to add it to my project. So now it should show up in the databases for my project, and there it is. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to add some layers to the map, and then we're going to practice with some editing and talking about the way that goes. So the features I'd like to add, I want to add, this is a set of data. Idaho Department of Fish and Game does a great job with just keeping track of both game and non-game species, and then providing that to the public on request. They're one of my favorite agencies working with. And so I've got a set of data that they curated for all of the location reports of the Rocky Mountain-tailed frog, Escapus montanus, in Idaho. What we just saw when we added that layer to the map, I don't know if you noticed that the orientation of the map kind of shifted. What we saw was a change in the coordinate system, and that's what happens when a map will take on the coordinate system of the first layer you add to it. Let's take a look. We can look over here to see what the coordinate system here is. Properties, and we'll go spatial reference. I'm going to just minimize that so more shows in the pane. So this is just in a geographic coordinate system. So it's actually not, this is not projected. And that's why you see that east to west stretching. For ease, I'm going to go ahead and put the whole map into UTM zone 11 north, and then we're going to talk about kind of some different approaches for editing. So let's go ahead and properties, because we wouldn't want to print a map that's in a geographic coordinate system. So if we went to coordinate system, the base maps just show up in Web Mercator Auxiliary Sphere. So the datum is the same, but these get projected with a Mercator projection that works kind of around the world. But let's go ahead and go to projected coordinate systems, UTM zone 11 north, so NAD 1983, UTM zone 11 north works just fine for the Idaho Panhandle. Okay. And now it looks better. We're going to talk about kind of what we need to do with respect to this in a minute, but I just wanted to kind of show you that to start. The other layers I'm going to add, they're going to be, well, I'm going to add some layers from another piece of our student workbook data, and that's the Idaho Basic Features. I'll go ahead and add this geodatabase to the project, and I'll go back to the project, and let's see, Idaho Basic Features, and then I want to add Idaho watersheds. These are hydrologic unit code. That's what HUC means. But if you are a water science student, you probably hear people throwing around the word HUC all the time. If you're not, then what is that? It's a hydrologic unit code. A HUC is a hydrologic unit code, and it's the way that we organize watershed information. And so watershed being that area of land where water from it would run off to a body of water. So we're going to go ahead and add those. HUC 12, it'd be like a small creek basin. So it's as small as you can get from the USGS, the kind of the smallest area of land that feeds into a particular basin. The other thing I want to add, of course, this is ugly. We're not worrying about pretty yet. I want to add the Idaho counties here. We are going to be focusing on Bonner County, so that's the county that includes Sandpoint. All right, so first thing I wanted to show you, so that's what we're going to be dealing with for this demonstration. We got all the data on the map. If it helps you for editing, and I think it will, let's go ahead and make our polygons hollow so we can see what's inside of them. So my Idaho counties, we could make them, I don't know, dashed black maybe. And then the watersheds here, we can make them a black outline. And like I said, we're not going for pretty yet because we're not laying it out, but we need something that's kind of workable that we can at least see what we need to see. And I think that dashed black outline doesn't really work because I can't really see what I need to see, but I wonder if we or to give it like a, I don't know, bright yellow color if it would show up better. And then maybe just didn't make it dashed. So maybe we went back here and made it bright yellow. Okay, that's a little bit better. Like I said, we're not really looking for perfect. We're just looking for, okay, good enough to kind of see what we're seeing while we're running our editing, and then we can make it perfect when we decide to make a map from it or a layout. All right, so what I wanted to talk about first is how we get ourselves set up to be ready to edit. And there's a couple things. And one of those things I'm going to show you right now, and that is, first off, in order to edit a layer, you need to be able to select it. So if we go over here to our list by selection, the layers that we want to edit, we need to be able to select from. And so right now it's okay to have all of these. Right now all of these layers are editable, and we'll toggle these on and off as we're ready to edit one or the other so that we don't accidentally, you know, it's just easier to avoid selecting something you didn't want to select. And then over here, and this is what I need to show you, I have some, these are the layers that have editing permissions that you're able to edit. And you'll notice these warning signs here. Those warning signs mean that the layers are not in the same coordinate system as the map. Now, for display, it's not a big deal. Things project on the fly. And a lot of times you can get away with that for editing as well. But in general, like what's considered the best practice is when you are doing editing, that you put your layers in the same coordinate system as the map. So the layers that we're going to edit, we need to put them in the same coordinate system as the map. Or we need to put the map in the same coordinate system as the layers we're going to edit. The two layers we're going to end up editing today are the Idaho Huck 12 watersheds and the Escapus layers. So let's take a look and see what coordinate system the Idaho Huck 12 watersheds are in. I'm going to right click, go to its properties, and look at spatial reference. And this is NAD. Okay, so they're just in NAD 1983. Interesting. Okay, and then our other one is in WGS. All right. So, all right. So what we're gonna do is, because I don't, well, let's see. There's a couple things we could do. I guess it's good for you guys to hear the decision-making process. I could either work with my map in, I could put my map into the coordinate system of one of the layers I'm going to be editing, and then I could take the other layer and I could use the project tool to project it into that coordinate system. Or I could take both of the layers that we're going to edit, and I could project both of them into a different coordinate system. So in general, what you want to do is change the coordinate system on your map. That's quicker and easier, and so if that's an option, that's what you want to do to start out. If that's not an option, then use the project tool to change your coordinate system on the layer so that it matches up with your map before you do editing. In this case, we're going to need to do both. So first off, we're going to go ahead and put our map into a geographic coordinate system, but we're not going to keep it in there when we decide to make a layout, if that makes sense. Okay, because we don't ever want to have a layout that's in a geographic coordinate system, but I mean, I can work on the map in a geographic coordinate system. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go to the map here, and I think we'll put it in, let's put it in the same one as our Escapus points here. So, whoops. Those are right here, and we go back to these properties, and these are in spatial reference. So this looks like it's in WGS 1984, like we said before. So let's go ahead and we're going to put the map in that. And it's actually kind of easy to do that because we can just click on coordinate system of the layers here, and we can say, hey, let's put it in WGS 1984. Now it's going to match up with the escapist points. And you see how it's kind of ugly, stretched east to west. So we're never going to put it in a layout like that. So, and did you notice how the warning sign turned off here? And that's because now the map is in the same coordinate system as as these puppies. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use the project tool. So we haven't used too many tools yet. That's section 10. We're going to really get into the tools. But what I'd like to do now is we're going to use the project tool to take these watersheds and project them into WGS 1984. So if I go to analysis, I can pull up my toolbox and I can search for the project tool. Interestingly, if you're from Canada, you call a project a project. And so it all gets confusing. But down here in the States, we're like project for something you're working on and a project for a tool. So project. Now, so we want to project our Idaho Huck 12 watersheds. Okay, and let's see, the output coordinate system is going to be the same as our escapist. So that's kind of nice that you can tell it, what you want. Straight from the options of what your layers are is just shown right there. And we're going to hit run. We're going to let it do its thing. All right, good deal. That worked. All right, so now it's called project, and I'll get rid of this one. Remove it. Okay, and now the only layer that we shouldn't mess around with editing is Idaho counties, and that's fine because we are, we're going to export a layer from it in a minute, and we'll put it into WGS 1984 too. So don't worry, everything's good. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out to you guys is as we get things ready to start editing, we want to set up our editing space so that we've got the things we want to edit are selectable and they're editable. And then the last piece is sometimes it's useful to set up snapping settings, and this is the settings that, oh, come back, what did I do with it? Wherever that went, I want it back. There we go. Okay. And so this chooses, I guess it's a hover one. And so here you can choose how your mouse reacts when it gets close to things. This is really, these are very kind of the specific ones, but if you just hover here, then you can decide if you want to snap to the nearest start or end point of a feature nearby, snap to the nearest point, that's for last features, snap to the edge. And so that just means as you hover near something, your mouse will automatically jump to it. So for some folks, that's kind of annoying. But the snapping, for some folks, they like it, and so you can turn snapping on. So now snapping has been turned on, and if I get really close to something with my mouse, it'll kind of jump there. You can kind of see what that looks like when I'm editing, all right? And this is where you turn snapping off as well. And you have different options for snapping. So sometimes this will snap to the nearest intersection, nearest midpoint. These are kind of the defaults that'll be on though. All right, next. Yeah, so I think that was what I wanted to talk about. Let's make sure our workbook is filled out for this kind of prep section. So what can I do to set up for a successful editing session? When you're ready to edit a layer, make sure it's selectable and editable by adjusting permissions in the selection and editing option in the contents. Yes. When you're editing, the best practice is to work with feature classes that are in the same coordinate system as the map. You can either set the coordinate system of the map to match the layers you plan to edit, which is preferred because it's easier, or you can use the project tool. I will capitalize it. Project tool to change the coordinate system of the feature class to match the map you're working in. We did a little bit of both in our demonstration. And so this just kind of showed the warning there and explained it. Okay, so our next step, we're going to add new features to an existing feature class. We're going to do a few things, but we're going to do that in our next video segment.